Manchester United got a disappointing 1-1 draw at West Ham. But 4 wins and 1 draw, 13 points from 15. We can't really be mad about that, especially with how we've been in the last 2+ years, really. But do you know what was very telling was the reaction from the Manchester United squad. They'd won 4 games in a row. They come across an informed West Ham side. They go 1-0 down and they go and make it 1-1. But the reaction from the Man United squad was like we'd lost that game. And I think that's a good thing. And I want to talk about what the players actually said after the game, Michael Carrick and more. I want to talk about Senny Lammens because I tell you what, I think he's going a bit under the radar. I think he's been a bit underrated. I want to talk about Benjamin Sesko, Lenny Yoro. I want to talk about Maguire signing a new contract, a few other news stories and more, but also deep dive into Carrick's comments, the interview, and everything. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show. Actually, before we get into today's video, Thomas Frank's been sacked. I mean, he probably should have been sacked earlier, but I understand Tottenham wanted to give him time. He has a 1.112 points per game ratio at Tottenham. Less points than Ange was this time last year. It'll be interesting to see how Tottenham do and who Tottenham go for, and that could be something to keep an eye on, because will Tottenham bounce back? Who knows? But Thomas Frank has been sacked. A lot of managers are starting to get sacked, so that means in the summer, and you might be saying, Alice, why are you talking about Tottenham? This is not relevant. What means is in the summer, we're looking for a new manager. Tottenham are looking for a new manager. I assume Liverpool will look for a new manager with Slot. Unless they get Champions League, maybe he stays. And there's rumours that Pep's going to go. That could be Man United, Tottenham, Liverpool, and City all looking for a new manager in the summer. That's all I'm going to say. There could be 4 teams looking for a new manager in the summer, which is more competition. But realistically, even though Man United and Tottenham are both graveyards for managers, I think we'd be picked over Tottenham. Like and Boomer picked us over Tottenham. However, we might already have a manager in Michael Carrick, but we'll talk about that for another day. Let's get into the news. Let's get into the story because I've waffled long enough. So I just wanted to start off by giving a shout out to Senny Lammens, because actually I was talking yesterday about, Yoro being very good. I thought Maynard had a good game, Maguire had a good game, the Sesko goal, but actually I think Senny Lammens had a few really good games for us. I think he's been solid. And as Adam said here, no goalkeeper in the Premier League has prevented more goals per 90 mins than Lammens. The only reason he doesn't lead that is with goals prevented 4.7 is in second, because he has played 20 games. Jordan Pickford in first has played 26 games. What a signing he's been. He's a good shot stopper. He's decent with his feet. I mean, look, he's not the best goalkeeper in the world with his feet, but either is Donnarumma. If I was to compare him to a goalkeeper, I'd say Donnarumma. Decent with feet, good enough with feet, fantastic shot stopper. We brought in Onana because he was good with his feet, which was he? I don't know. But he wasn't a good shot stopper. And for me, personally, I'd rather have a really good shot stopper who's decent with his feet than someone that's really good with their feet and a decent shot stopper. Because stopping shots stops goals going in. And look, he's got a good kick and that's good enough with his feet. And I'm going to compare him to Donnarumma. He's not quite Donnarumma level yet, let's be honest. But Lammens has been very impressive, and I am very, very happy with that. Let me know your thoughts on Senny Lammens down below. But I saw people slandering on Twitter when I think the goal we conceded to Brighton or something, and I'm just like, guys, he's not going to save every shot, and he's not going to be perfect every game, but he's been good. Like, look at Bendir, look at Onana, look at Lammens. So much better. Anyway, I want to talk about Lammens' comments, which show the attitude of the players, and then I also want to talk about Carrick's squad, because I think Carrick's reaction, and what Carrick said, because I think that was really telling. I'm still a bit disappointed and felt like we didn't really play the way we should have. And he's right with that comment. Like, we played really passive. We played like we were 3-0 up and we were saving energy and we already won the game, particularly in that first half. It was only at the end that we really went for it. He said, especially in the first half, we didn't create as much. I think we needed to be more sharp with the ball. And I agree. Obviously, we're conditioned to only play 1 game a week and we've played 2 games in 3 days, and maybe that had an impact. But we needed to be more sharp with the ball. I think Senny Lammens was absolutely correct with that, and he's obviously disappointed, and I agree. I feel the same. He said we need to create more. Of course, when you score in the end and still get a point, it's always a bit better, but still the overall feeling is a bit disappointing for us. And look, I agree. I think the overall feeling from that game was a bit disappointing. We didn't win. We got better in the second half, but we didn't do what we needed to do in the first half. And I think had we gone 1-0 up, we win that game. I think the minute West Ham went 1-0 up, they parked the bus even more. They were parking the bus at 0-0. And I think, to let West Ham go 1-0 up really let us down. But I want to talk about, obviously, what Michael Carrick said. The boys are really frustrated with that, which is a really good sign for me. In the past, we'd celebrate a draw. Well, that's another game unbeaten. Or we'd be happy with a draw because you know what? We're 1-0 down and we made it 1-1. And we'd be happy with a draw. The fact that we've all of a sudden treated this draw like a loss, when we drew to games early in the season like Tottenham, we came back into that game 2-2, we treated it like a win. That shows an attitude change for me. That shows they're treating this draw like a loss. They're frustrated. The boys know that they didn't give enough. The boys know they could have played better. I think it's good that the players know they didn't show enough intensity. They know that they weren't doing enough in the first half. They should have played better. I think that's really telling, but I also think that's really encouraging. They're not blaming anyone. They're saying we should have done better. They're taking responsibility. I feel like that's a really good sign of player attitude and change. And as United Robbo pointed out, because he watched the Carrick interview, he said that the Carrick interview was very comforting, and I think it was very comforting and very telling as well. Carrick talks about how they're all disappointed and frustrated. They complain about the low energy and the lack of sharpness. There was a lack of spark. There was it was a low block from West Ham, and that's all things that we need to work on. I think Carrick was aware of what was wrong and what we need to work on, and I think that's really good. I think the players being disappointed is really good. My only real criticism of Carrick is he probably should have brought Sesko on earlier, and that's an issue he had at Middlesbrough where he was a bit late with subs, but he's an inexperienced manager and he will only improve. And, it's disappointing not to win, but you take the point, you move on, you didn't lose. It's just a shame not to win. But Chelsea dropping points. I think Liverpool have Sunderland next, so they could drop points. It will help us out. Anyway, I want to talk about Benjamin Sesko and his comments, because that goal from Benjamin Sesko was phenomenal. Victor Gyökeres would be kicking that into row Z from that angle. Sesko said, "We are doing everything to win games to secure Champions League spot because we believe we have the team for it. We have the quality and we are going to fight towards it." Love it. Sesko has confirmed the goal is Champions League. We believe we can get that. We believe we can fight for it. We're out of all the cup competitions. We have 40 games this season. We have to get Champions League. You did nothing in the cup competitions. You weren't in Europe this season. You have nothing to play for but Champions League. We have to get it now. I thought, Europa League would be good enough considering where we were last season, but I want Champions League now. I've seen Carrick ball. Now I've seen how good we can play under Carrick. I want Champions League, and I like that Sesko come out and said, we believe we can get Champions League. We have the team for it. I like how the goal isn't we need to get back in the Europa League and get back in Europe. It's get Champions League. Because if we get Champions League, budget goes up 80, 90 million more. Bruno Fernandes more likely stays. You cannot lose Bruno and Casemiro in the same window. If we also get Champions League, more chance of getting Elliot Anderson, more chance of getting Wharton, Tonali, any of our targets. Champions League is so important for the next stage of the rebuild. Do I think we have the squad to play Premier League and Champions League football? No. Do I think we could struggle in the league next season if we're in Champions League? Potentially. But getting Champions League football gives us what we need to be one step ahead in the transfer window. And we need to build that squad depth up. And look, the squad depth isn't great. We need 3 midfielders. We need a left back. We need a left winger. And we need to hope for some luck with injuries. But maybe we can get those 2 elite midfielders should we get Champions League football. Sesko then said on the game, it was a difficult start to the game. The intensity was missing a little bit. And I like that Sesko and Lammens and all the players are going, the intensity wasn't good enough in that first half. They're all seeing it. It's one of those games, but it's not going to be that easy, especially when they're stepping back, when they're really compact and they're trying to go for the counter-attack. We understood what they were trying to do. He's saying it's not going to be an easy game. It's just something we have to learn from, which I agree. I think everyone wants to win the game, fight for each other. Unfortunately, it didn't happen today, but at least we got a draw, which is important at the end. So really good comments from Sesko, really good comments from Lammens, really good comments from Carrick. And I feel that all the post-match comments from the players is very encouraging about the attitude, and it's very telling about the plan. We need to get Champions League football, the direction that the squad is going. And one player that I thought was really good was Lenny Euro. I thought Lenny Euro was incredible, and I'm actually really glad he came on for Maguire because he had that recovery pace to deal with those counter-attacks. But Harry Maguire was very good. He might have done his hamstring, but he was very good. Harry Maguire is increasingly likely to sign a new contract with Manchester United, extending his stay at Old Trafford beyond the end of the season and his current 180k deal beyond the edge of his end of his current 180k week deal, which expires in June. Sorry. Harry Maguire should stay. Now, that was said by Nathan Salt, and I forgot to add him at the bottom. I apologise, Chris Wheeler and Nathan Salt, who said this. But Maguire is increasingly likely to sign a new contract with Manchester United, extending his stay at Old Trafford beyond the end of his current 180k a week deal, which expires in June. I'm happy with Maguire to stay as long as he gets wages down a bit because he's been a bit injury prone. I think we need him for depth. I think Maguire, Heaven, Euro, Leacher, De Ligt, those 5 centre-backs, I think that's very good for depth. Luke Shaw can always play as a centre-back if we bring in a good, competent left-back, because I think we saw versus West Ham, Luke Shaw going forward isn't good enough. Dorgu was obviously a big miss as well, but the fullbacks were not good enough. I think we saw versus West Ham, we need a left-back, we need a natural left winger, we need 3 midfielders. Anyway, thank you for watching today's video. See you next time. Bye.